Over the last 24 hours, you know that the situation in the Islamic Republic of Iran has escalated from sporadic unrest into what looks like a coordinated nationwide uprising. Reports are flooding in despite severe internet restrictions of hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets in over 40 cities. From Tehran to Isfahan, from Tabriz to Mashhad, the streets have been taken over.
The waves of protesters who continue to flood Iran's streets. A municipal building burning into the night in Karaj, just outside Tehran. The regime blames it, and much more, on dangerous rioters. After 2 days of near total internet shutdown, meaning many of these images of last night's nationwide protests have only been gradually emerging, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is saying its red line is safeguarding the achievements of the revolution and the country's security.
We are seeing reports of internet blackouts, live ammunition being used, and a level of confrontation between protesters and security forces that we haven't seen in years. Let's get right into the timeline. The first major movement started at approximately 8 a.m. local time in Tehran. Unlike previous protests that often start in the evening under the cover of darkness, this began in broad daylight, right as the workday was starting. By 8:15 a.m., crowds began to form at Enghelab Square. Reports indicate that this wasn't a slow trickle. It was a sudden surge. Thousands of people, seemingly coordinated, flooded the intersection. At this stage, the atmosphere was tense but non-violent. The chants were specific, loud, and directed at the current economic paralysis and strict enforcement laws. However, the turning point happened rapidly.
All have the same united voice, and it's the right time for mullahs to leave.
My parents are stuck in Iran right now. They were meant to come back in a couple days. Flights have been cancelled and there's internet blackouts. Phone lines have been cut, even domestically. I have no way of reaching my own parents because of this oppressive and brutal regime.
I'm 100% sure they are done and we are going to be free and we're going to go back to our...
At 9 a.m. sharp, security forces, specifically the Basij militia on motorcycles, attempted to disperse a growing crowd near the University of Tehran gates. Witnesses report that they didn't use warnings. They drove directly into the front lines of the gathering. This is where the chaos officially began. Instead of scattering, the crowd pushed back. By 9:30 a.m., we received the first verified videos of physical clashes. Protesters were seen unseating riders from their motorcycles. It was a shocking display of resistance this early in the day. By 10 a.m., the situation had spread beyond the university district. The tear gas canisters started flying. The white smoke that has become so familiar in these reports began to fill Enghelab Street. But here is the critical difference we noticed today. The wind was blowing the gas back toward the security lines, and the protesters, equipped with masks and vinegar-soaked cloths, held their ground. They did not retreat. As we moved into the late morning, the localized clashes in Tehran triggered a domino effect across the country. At 10:45 a.m., reports came in from Karaj, a city just west of Tehran. The main highway, the Karaj-Tehran freeway, was blocked. This wasn't a police blockade, this was the people. Protesters used their own vehicles to create a gridlock, effectively stopping the flow of potential security reinforcements coming into the capital. This was a strategic move. We saw footage of drivers abandoning their cars in the middle of the highway, standing on roofs, and chanting. By 11:30 a.m., the situation in the northwest, specifically in Tabriz, turned violent. Security forces there deployed water cannons mixed with chemical irritants. The response from the street was immediate. At 11:45 a.m., a video surfaced verified by multiple open-source intelligence accounts showing a local governor's office in Tabriz being pelted with stones and Molotov cocktails. The gates were breached. This marked the first government building to be compromised today. Back in Tehran at 12:15 p.m, the chaos migrated to the Grand Bazaar. This is significant. The bazaar is the economic heart of the city. Shopkeepers, usually conservative in their actions to protect their goods, were seen pulling down their shutters not to hide, but to join the throngs outside. The strikes became total. The chant, "We will not open until we are free," was heard echoing through the covered alleyways. At 12:45 p.m, we saw the first use of birdshot by security forces in Mashhad. This is a holy city, usually more controlled, but today it was a war zone. Videos showed protesters running through the alleys near the shrine, carrying wounded comrades. The pavement was stained. The escalation from tear gas to kinetic impact munitions happened much faster today than in any previous unrest. At exactly 1:15 p.m, network data from NetBlocks confirmed a near-total collapse of internet connectivity across mobile networks in Iran. Mackay, Iransal, and Reitel all went dark simultaneously. This is the state's kill switch. They pulled the plug to stop the coordination and to stop the world from seeing the footage. However, information finds a way. Between 1:30 p.m, we relied on landline calls and sporadic satellite internet connections from tech-savvy groups within the country. The news that did trickle out was terrifying. Without the cameras live streaming, the security forces took the gloves off. At 2 p.m. in the neighborhood of Narmak in Tehran, witnesses described a siege. Special unit forces, the Yegeni VJ, dressed in black riot gear, began sweeping the streets. They were firing tear gas directly into residential apartment windows. At 2:30 p.m, a horrifying scene unfolded in Isfahan. Protesters had gathered on the dry riverbed of the Zayandeh Rud. Because it is an open space, they were vulnerable. Reports indicate that security forces positioned on the COCPL bridge began firing down into the crowd. We don't have a confirmed casualty count yet, but the panic described by witnesses on the phone was absolute. People were trampled, trying to escape the line of fire. By 3:30 p.m, despite the blackout, the protests had not quelled, they had mutated. They moved from large squares into the narrow residential alleys where motorcycles and riot trucks couldn't easily navigate. This is urban guerrilla warfare. Residents began throwing objects from rooftops onto security convoys' flower pots, bricks, anything they could find. The city of Tehran became a three-dimensional battleground. As the sun began to set around 5 p.m, the dynamic changed again. Darkness usually favors the protesters, and today was no exception. At 5:15 p.m, in the Ekbatan district of Tehran, a massive residential complex known for its defiance the chanting began from the windows. It started as a low hum and grew into a roar. Death to the dictator echoed off the concrete blocks. But then, the residents came down. By 5:45 p.m, bonfires were lit at every major intersection surrounding Ekbatan. They were burning tires to neutralize the tear gas and create visibility barriers. The security forces attempted to enter the complex at 6 p.m. They were repelled. We have audio recordings from this hour of intense gunfire, likely AK-47s, being used by security forces. At 6:30 p.m, a significant development occurred in the south of the country, in Avaz. The air quality there is already poor, but tonight it is thick with black smoke. Protesters, their targeted infrastructure. We have unverified but persistent reports that the roads leading to key oil refineries were blocked by burning trucks. If true, this escalates the economic impact of today's events to a critical level. By 7 p.m., just a few hours ago, the chaos reached the affluent northern districts of Tehran. Valiasa Street, the longest street in the Middle East connecting the north and south, was reportedly severed in multiple locations. Burning barricades were erected near Enghelab Square. The police stations in that area, usually secure, were seen being fortified with sandbags, anticipating a night siege. This brings us to right now. It is late evening in Iran. The internet is still largely down, but the few connections we have paint a picture of a country in total revolt. As of 8 p.m. local time, reports are coming in of night raids by security forces. They are going door to door in neighborhoods identified as hotspots earlier in the day, arresting anyone they suspect of leading the chants. However, the streets are not clearing. In the last hour, we received a distress call from a university dormitory in Tehran. Students are currently barricaded inside, while plainclothes officers are attempting to break down the doors with axes and sledgehammers. The students are asking for international attention, fearing that once the doors break, they will be disappeared. At 8:30 p.m., just 30 minutes ago, a massive fire was reported near the Evin Prison area. We do not know if it is inside the facility or on the perimeter, but sirens are wailing across the entire district. Families of prisoners are reportedly rushing toward the site, creating a secondary clash with guards on the highway leading to the prison. Right now, the city of Sanandaj in Kurdistan province is reportedly under martial law, though the government hasn't officially declared it. Electricity has been cut to the entire city. It is pitch black, save for the muzzle flashes and the fires in the street. The sound of heavy machine gun fire is continuous. The chaos is total. There is no central leadership for these protests, which makes them impossible to decapitate, but also impossible to negotiate with. The security forces are stretched thin. We are seeing videos of exhausted riot police retreating in Shiraz, simply unable to hold the line against the sheer volume of people. We are going to stay on this story all night. Our team is monitoring every encrypted channel and every satellite feed coming out of Iran. The situation, people are dying right now as I speak. The chaos is not subsiding, it is adapting. The fires we are seeing on the satellite heat maps are growing, not shrinking. If you are watching this, please share this video. The internet blackout is designed to hide these crimes in the dark. By sharing this, you are shining a light back on them. We will be back with another update in 2 hours or sooner if the situation at Evin Prison or the military deployments changes. Stay tuned, stay aware. And to the people of Iran, the world is watching.